Welcome, everyone, to our third week of Relax, Focus, De-Stress, and Connect. And this week is all about de-stressing. So it's probably the reason why there's the most people signed up. And we had over 100 and something like 130 signed up on LMS. So I don't know if all those people will actually come in today, but welcome, everybody. I'm so glad you can be here. I'm going to put everybody on mute, just so there's not a problem with background noise. You don't have to worry about that. You could unmute as we go through, and I'll also ask for some feedback as we go through on the chat. And as I was saying, this does qualify for one of the personal choice activities and know your numbers. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Feel free to reach out to me on the email. So yeah, stress, let's dive right in. I've got a lot to cover. And the first thing I'm going to tell you about really is all about the program that I represent, the Employee and Family Resources Program, because this is a great way to get information and to get help and to get resources to help with your stress and to make life a little bit easier. Before I go into that, let's just take a quick pause. This is something I often do with the classes that I teach. You've been very busy today, probably. You've been focusing. There's probably a lot going on up in the mind. So let's just take a deep breath. We're just going to do three things. We're going to take a deep breath. Feel the breath itself as you breathe in, really filling the lungs, and a long, slow out breath. Just really feel the sensations of this one breath. Do that again, long in breath, deep, full breath. And this time, feel into the body. Just notice how your body is in the moment. Feel the weight of your body. Maybe notice, what does the body need? Maybe you're hungry or thirsty or needs to stretch. What does your body need? And then one more deep breath in. And this time, just bring a sense of kindness to yourself and give yourself a pat on the back for all the good work that you're doing and the very many things and all the stressors that you're dealing with. So just really remember to be kind to yourself. That's a big part of it. So that's 3 breaths. That's a quick pause to get us started. Hopefully center us a little bit and get us, let's leave behind all the stuff of the morning and let's not think about the stuff that we got to do later. For now, just bring your full attention here if you can. And as I've said before, if you can, try to not multitask as we go through this, especially during the practices. We have a couple today, but see if you can just, bring your full attention here. That's the best way to get the most out of it. So the program itself has 4 components: work-life resources to help you find stuff. There's counseling and coaching. Actually, they even have a new component of coaching, up to 6 sessions. They're your choice, in person, phone, or video, lots of ways. There's even something called Talkspace where you can message with a counselor. And then there's legal and financial services. And then that web address, carolinewellbeing.com/YNHHS. I'm going to actually show you this so you can see the great resources that are on that website. All these services are free and confidential. They're open to all employees and your immediate family members, and anyone who simply lives under your roof also can use these services. There's the toll-free number. You can start by calling that number, or you can start with that Carillon Wellbeing address, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But next, they have these nice kits. So take a look at these and see if any of these looks like they might be helpful to you and stress relieving. These are all different life events and things that we go through and sometimes cause stress. And there's one kit itself on stress management. So just to kind of show you, you can call the program and get one. They send them free right to your home. The stress management kit has a couple of really good books, and it's got a nature mood CD and an adult coloring book. And then I also highlighted the caregiver support, because that can be extremely stressful if you're caring for someone in your family. It's a couple of good books also, and then a medical ID alert magnet and jar gripper and pill organizer. So if you want one of those, again, here's the full list. You just give the program a call and they will send it to you. They'll also ask you other ways that they might be able to assist you, because they want to see if the program can help in other ways. All right. So I'm going to stop the share really quickly, and I'm going to share the web address, see if I can do this, and then get back to it. So it's a little bit of a challenge, right? So I'm going to go here. Back to where I was. It doesn't work. Here's where I want to go. So hopefully you can see this. Let me know if you can't. You should be seeing Welcome to Employee and Family Resources. This is that web address, carillonwellbeing.com/WineHHS. This is provided by our EFR external provider. As Carillon is the company that provides all the direct services. I'm just the coordinator. And what you'll see on this, as I scroll down, you'll see this is a way to begin the process of getting help for, as you can see, legal advice here, find a counselor, finances, work-life benefits, that's finding things for yourself and your family, support, wellness topics, but they highlight a bunch of things, critical incident resources, which we can provide help to on-site in the workplace. And then there's featured items. All our meditations and relaxation audios are uploaded here. Not video, but the meditations that I do. We have about 30 that are uploaded there. Then there's some highlighted monthly themes on, as you can see, cultural identity is this month, but also mental health resources for people of color, reducing bias in the workplace. But then this is the app that I've talked about, eMindful app. This is where you would sign up, life coaching, webinars. And then if you go in, well, there's trending topics, as you can see, all of these here, which are things that they highlight, I think, monthly. But if you want to go in further, for example, if you go into explore more, you'll see lots of different topics. Okay, so it's refreshing. I'm not seeing, oh, that's a courses and resources. So let's go back. But I wanted to show you real quickly if I can find it. There's a bunch of section on all different specific topics. Go here, explore more. And as it's loading, you'll see all these subtopics. And there's one specifically on stress. So if you really want to dive into this, as you can see, there's anxiety, burnout, depression, and there's a whole bunch of different topics here. So this is a great resource. I'm going to stop the share and go back to the slides for you to check it out. Okay, so keep that in mind. And if you haven't seen it yet, do please check it out. See, I'll go back to the slides here, and here we go. Everybody see this okay? Let me know if you should see assess your stress. And again, I am recording this, and I'm going to post this on Thrive under live and recorded resources. So if you want to get the slides, they'll be posted there. And if you're looking for the last 2 weeks, they're also posted there. So let's start off on that website. You can actually access a quiz to assess your stress. You would click on take an assessment when you explore ways to relieve stress, and you'll see that there on that link. But for now, just simply rank yourself. What is your stress level today? From 1 to 10. So 1 being absolutely no stress whatsoever, 10 being the highest level, over the top, can't take it anymore kind of stress. So hopefully you're somewhere not at the 10, but I bet you most of us are not at 1 either. We're probably somewhere in the middle. So just give yourself a number. You don't have to share that with anybody. But what we'll do is we'll do a couple of practices today. I'm going to talk about a few ways to hopefully get better at stress. And maybe by the end of the session, your number will go down a little bit. But I would also encourage you to maybe check again in a couple of days after you've done some of these practices. Maybe check in a week and see how it goes. And that's a good way to see if you're making any progress. So, we know we have a lot of stress. There's no doubt about it. Stress has increased since the pandemic, of course, but since, stress levels are higher than ever. They're pretty much off the charts, and we all are living under lots amounts of stress dealing with all these kinds of things. The point of this really is that whether you have all of these things or just one or two or three of these things, we can get better at it. And studies have actually shown that we can, and this is part of what we're going to do today, is that we can learn to kind of inoculate ourselves, make ourselves stronger, and change our relationship to stress, change how we perceive stress. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, but that makes a huge difference. The beginning part of what we're going to talk about today is how we can interrupt the stress cycle, because very often that's what happens. And this is an unhealthy stress cycle. So if you look at this, it's probably like one of your typical days. You know, you have multiple stressors throughout the day, right? Those stress responses, those kind of starburst things. And if this goes on throughout the day unchecked, you're going to be pretty physically and emotionally exhausted. So this is where we can start, though. We can start small, and we can realize that if we take action to counteract these stressors, and just to remind you, we talked a lot about these kinds of things under the first session of relaxing. All those relaxation techniques will help us to interrupt that stress cycle, come off of that autopilot mode, and be present. Just like that quick 3 breaths that we did in the beginning, it's just a great way to kind of recenter and refresh. When we do that, we can do this. This is a more healthy response. So, but you have to kind of notice it. And I think a lot of us have gotten used to the fact that we just lead very stressful lives, and we just kind of push through it. We white knuckle it in a sense. So what I'd like you to do is think about, what is your early warning sign when you know you're feeling a stress response? Usually it's something like something going on in the mind. Maybe it's a negative thought like, I can't take this, or I really can't stand this. Or maybe it's a feeling in the body, a tightness in the chest or the shoulders or some other place, some tension in the body. Or maybe it's an emotional response. You know, you're a bit more irritable or negative, or just feeling down about a situation. So notice those 3 things, and what are some early warning signs. And when you notice that, that's your signal to do something to counteract it. And again, what I'm encouraging you to do is to try to do this with some regularity, so that you build the muscle of that interrupting the stress cycle. You build a habit of counteracting that stress. And I kind of showed this before, this idea of pausing, but I'm going to give you a few more ideas to pause, to use as a pause. But here are 2 points. One, the best pause you can try to do during the workday or after the workday is something that disengages you from your stress. And if it's work that's stressing you out, well, then what you want to do is you want to find something, some way to take that pause to disconnect with the stress at work or whatever that stressor is. All right? Makes sense? Hopefully it does. And this quote, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. I had to do that with my computer. I was having problems, and yep, sure enough, I reset my router, and it made a big difference. And hopefully you're all hearing me and seeing me okay, and seeing the slides. If you're not, let me know. So, and again, if you have any questions as I go through this, let me know in the chat. Here are some other quick pauses that you can try. So we've talked about the deep breaths. So long in breath, just as a reminder, and an even longer out breath. That's important because that brings on the relaxation response. It can help to sigh it out, you know, so when you breathe out, open mouth, sigh, that kind of a thing, or through like pursed lips, like you're blowing through a straw. So breathe in, and then both of those have been proven to relax you and relieve stress. The 3 breaths for a pause is what I did when we started. So you breathe in deep, you feel the breath. Second one, you feel the body. What does the body need? The third one, you bring some kindness to yourself. And then there's those routine things, the hand washing, Purelling, other daily tasks where you can bring mindful awareness to. Those are great ways to try to just reinforce the habit. One that I find very good is to visualize a peaceful place and kind of imagine yourself there and just go there in your mind's eye and use your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you smell? And then just some others that the hand thing here is you can trace your hand. So as you trace your hand, you're breathing in as you go up. So breathe in. Do this with me if you like. Come down, breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. In and out. Slowly, evenly. You go all the way to the other side of your hand. And then go back if you have time. So that gives you sort of the tactile sense of grounding you, but also the breathing. And then the picture here of your feet in the sand is just, that's a great metaphor for just grounding yourself, feeling your feet grounding you. And if you can feel, if you're in sand or grass or out in nature or something like that, just feeling the connection your feet make with the ground is a really great way to kind of take that pause. And again, just to remind you this quote, it's about being able to tap into that peaceful place upon command when you need it most. That's really what it's all about. Developing the routine and the habit of doing this on a regular basis so that you interrupt the stress cycle and it doesn't build up that way. And I'm going to show you some other things as to how you can reframe it and change our perception of it. Now, there's obvious stuff that we're not going to really go into today, but all the things that we've heard of, getting good exercise, regular, if you can, aerobic, sweat-producing exercise, it's been shown to be as effective as antidepressant medication. Of course, balanced meals, getting good sleep. There's a good link here if you have an active mind and you're worrying about some things trying to go to sleep. There's some good tips there in that link from Dr. Judd Brewer. And then, the habits that we do that sometimes we fall into habits that don't really help. They sort of feel good in the moment, but they're not really helping the overall stress relief plan. So think about what does work, what kinds of fun hobbies or whatever it might be that you do. There's all sorts of stuff like gardening or music or other creative endeavors that kind of get you into that zone and take you out of your sort of that focus on what's going on into a different realm. So those are all things that you can try as well. Here's some more obvious stuff. Social connection has been found to be probably one of the biggest things that we can do. So giving support, but also receiving support is really important. So having a buddy to go through some of the stuff with might be helpful. And then strategic support groups. So if you're in kind of an informal support group and you're kind of complaining about things, which we all tend to do, sometimes it can make us feel worse. It helps to know that we're not alone, but it can also make us feel worse if it's all negative. If that's the case, I would suggest that you at some point, turn that conversation in the support group to what's something positive we can do about this. And if it's something that you have no control over, then what's something that you can do individually in response to that situation? That's something where you get a little bit of control over that situation. Studies show really strongly that getting out into nature, and I know a lot of you already do this, but do this mindfully, do this in a way that is stress relieving, whether it's with your dog or with others or alone. We're doing something called forest bathing, which Japanese do and they practice, but really immersing yourself in nature and in a very mindful way, tuning into the world of nature around you. All this really has to do with being present. And again, mindfulness has been studied a lot in the last 20, 25 years or so. And stress reduction has been one of the greatest areas that they've studied and have shown for mindfulness and meditation to be very, very effective. So we're going to do a practice in just a minute, but it does help us get out of that autopilot. It helps us with focus, like we talked about last week, if you were in last week's class. And it also helps us with compassion and connection, which we're going to talk about next week. So hopefully you can join us there too. But let me pause. Any questions before we go into the first practice today? I can actually try to get 2 in. And again, you can use that chat if you'd like, if you have any questions at this point. Okay, well, let's try the first practice. It's called Accept Stress, Smile, and Soothe. And it's by Sebene Selassie. She's the instructor, and that I'm really basing this off of. So just to give her that credit. So the first step is to sit upright and alert, as if interested, but also relaxed and settled as if resting. You can close your eyes, or if you could prefer, you can just keep keep them open slightly with a soft downward gaze. And first, just notice where your mind is right now. How are you feeling? What's going on in the mind? What's going on emotionally? And this is key, not to fix or analyze or problem solve, just notice without getting caught up in it. Just a quick internal weather check. Now, notice the body sitting. Feel the body sitting in the chair or wherever you're sitting here doing nothing on purpose, and take a moment to appreciate the opportunity to just be. You don't have to do anything right now. You don't have to talk. You don't have to think. You don't have to problem solve. You don't have to do anything. This is an opportunity to just be. Anchoring yourself in your body, sitting, allowing the weight of your body to give itself up to gravity, feeling the connection your feet make with the ground, and being grounded through the body. Sort of allowing the body to feel heavy, especially from the waist down. Now, tune into the breath. Feel the inflow and outflow of each breath. And we'll use the breath as an anchor or a home base to return to whenever we get distracted. Now let's take a couple of deep breaths. So expanding and rising on the in-breath, feeling the refreshment it brings, and then settling and subsiding on the out-breath, releasing and relaxing. You could even say those words to yourself as you breathe in, refreshment, or just refresh. And as you breathe out, release and relax. And return to the breath whenever your attention wanders, gently and without judgment. It's just what our minds do, so don't worry about it. Just return back to the breath. Now, I invite you to bring to mind a stressor, something mild to moderate, nothing big, and get in touch with it. And notice what arises in the mind and your feelings when you really sense into this. Again, we're not trying to fix or analyze or problem solve. We're just noticing. So notice what arises in the mind and in your feelings. See if you can just allow it to be there. And then drop down into the body and notice how and where you feel it in the body. Just kind of scanning through, just notice. And as we allow it to be there, we're going to say 3 simple phrases. This is stress. Stress is a part of life. And may I find ease. And stay connected to sensations in the body. Continue to breathe and repeat these phrases to yourself. This is stress. Stress is part of life. And may I find ease. We all want to feel better, even in the midst of stress. And we've chosen to do this class and this meditation to take care of yourself. So give yourself credit and appreciation for that, and express gratitude for your own efforts. And then for the last part of the exercise, bring a smile to your face, even just a small half smile without strain. And perhaps think of a child or a pet or an image that makes you smile. And just feel that smile. You can even fake it. Brain doesn't really know the difference. The act of smiling activates neural messaging that relaxes the body and lowers the blood pressure and encourages ease and happiness. And now let your smile spread through your face, to your eyes, and down to your neck, shoulders, and heart area. Breathe slowly and evenly into the heart, lungs. And just feel that sense of a smile in that whole area. And then you can let that spread throughout the rest of the body, letting that smile spread, letting it soothe you, and nurture you, and just see if you can let things be as they are. What might the joy of that feel like? And as we begin to close the meditation, let's just check in again with your breath and your body. And how are you feeling in this moment? This meditation practice can be like a training ground for recognizing that every moment can be one of joy if we simply allow our experience to be without opinion, without contention, just as it is. So now you can open your eyes if they've been closed and reconnect with your surroundings and see if you can bring this quality of awareness to the next activities of your day, this sense of acceptance and soothing, no matter what's happening. All right, so thanks for joining me in that. Would love to hear what that was like for you. If you'd like to just put a word or two or so into the chat, feel free to share that. Or if you have any questions or comments about it or anything, let me know what that was like for you. As we move on, I'll let you give you a chance to put that in. Now, so it's interrupting the stress cycle. So here's a chronic stress equation. And this is where stress can get kind of out of control, right? We have a stressor. And if you add to that, well, how does it become chronic stress, I should say? This is the ingredient that makes it kind of over the top and makes it worse. If we add rumination about the stressor or self-criticism, we get down on ourselves, or stoicism. In other words, we ignore it or we stuff it. When we do those 3 things, or one of those 3 things, that's what turns normal kind of everyday stress into chronic stress. And it can kind of begin to feel like this, and it can get overwhelming and burdensome. And then when it gets to be like this, it's really hard to control it. It's really hard to kind of remove all those thought clouds and take the burden, make things a little bit lighter. I see a bunch of chats in here. Thank you. Great. Relaxing, good, excellent. Grounding, relaxing, slow me down. Thank you. Very good. So that's the idea. Sense of calm, cover me completely. Um, very good. Okay, I see that, Robin. And good. So you found that relaxing, and hopefully we're going to do another one. And in the second one, we're going to get a little bit more into learning what's going on in the mind so that it gives us a little bit of insight so that we begin to see what's going on with our thoughts and which thoughts are helpful and which are not so helpful. And that can help us begin to not get to this state where this poor fellow is feeling so overwhelmed. Or as Mark Twain said, my life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. And, I think many of us do this. We project and we time travel. We worry about things that haven't happened yet. It's easy enough to do, just turn on the news and the state of the world. But in our own lives as well, we often tend to project things and worry about things that aren't even here, even though we sense that they're impending. We kind of have that sense of doom. But we don't have to do that. And that's where we can begin to take control of that. So this is key to, I think, real stress management or getting better at stress, that we can learn to change our mind about stress. So they did this really interesting study. There's a TED Talk, though, when you see the slides, and again, they'll be loaded on that Thrive live and recorded resources. There's a link if you want to watch this. It's about 14 minutes, so it's a really good TED Talk with Dr. Kelly McGonigal, a health psychologist, and they did this large-scale study of something like 30,000 adults, and they asked them, do you believe that stress is harmful for yourself? And do you have high levels of stress? And what they found is that people with high levels of stress who believe that stress is harmful, which a lot of us have been taught, by the way, they had the worst cardiovascular profile and the highest risk of mortality, because this was like a 8-year study. However, those who did not believe that stress is harmful for their health, even if they had high levels of stress, they had the best cardiovascular profile and the lowest risk of mortality. So the message is that a lot of it comes down to our thoughts and our beliefs about stress and what's going on. So I wanted to begin being aware of your self-talk and see if you can first notice what you're saying to yourself about that stressor, and see if you can begin to reframe it and change it a little bit. And we'll practice that in a couple of minutes, because our beliefs really are extremely strong. They really do, in a sense, kind of predict. It's sort of like, changing our mindset, or I'm looking for a word, I can't find it. Well, I'll have to come back to that. Anyway, let's go to this quote. We're not troubled by things, but by the opinions we have about things. Okay, so again, it's the things we tell ourselves. It's the beliefs we have about our own ability to handle that, but also what the world is doing to us. And we can change that. We can change our relationship to how we respond to that. All right, so another quote, Viktor Frankl, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Now, it's hard to find that space because very often we're reactive to the stimuli. Things happen in the moment, we automatically react, and we get triggered, right? And that's the old conditioned patterns that we have. All those stressors tend to trigger us into a fight or flight, freeze response. But this is where I think mindfulness, and the more we practice it, can really help us, because we're more aware of those thoughts, we're more aware of our triggers, and we begin to find that little bit of space so that we have a choice in the moment, and we can learn to respond rather than automatically react to those triggers. And that's the key. And that's our next exercise. So again, I'm going to pause and just see any questions, any thoughts or questions or comments before I go into this next exercise. Checking our time here. Good. We're doing pretty good on time. And I'm kind of going through this sort of fast, but all right, so let's do this next exercise, which is really about noticing our thoughts. And so this will be maybe a little bit briefer than the first one. But the idea here is first to get settled, just like we did before. So feel your body, feel the weight of your body in the chair. Take a few deep breaths to feel the breath. Close your eyes or keep them softly open with a downward gaze. Just cultivate that sense of mindful awareness as you let your mind and your body settle. So feel the body grounded. Feel the rhythm of your breathing. If it helps, you can take a couple of deeper breaths. And now what we're going to do is we're going to be aware of thoughts as they arise, because thoughts will always come up. You know, our brain doesn't really stop thinking. We can't stop the brain from thinking. We can't empty the mind, but we can notice thoughts as they arise. And what I'd like you to do, you can use this imagery. Imagine yourself, you're sitting in a theater. You're sitting in the seats. And on the stage are the actors, which represent your thoughts and your feelings and your body sensations and all the stress, all the stories, all the drama that's going on in your life. And you're watching it unfold on the stage, but you're sitting back in the seats and watching it from a little bit of a distance. So see if you can do that for a little bit. Just watch as thoughts and emotions and body sensations come up. And if they're around a particular stressor, that's okay. Like we did before, maybe bring that same stressor to mind. And see if you can just watch them come and go on the stage. Just see what happens. A little bit more a neutral observer. And it's kind of our observer self that's watching this. We're not on stage. You might feel the tendency to be pulled up onto the stage, but if that's the case, just sit back down, stay in the seats, don't get up on the stage, don't get pulled into the drama. Just observe for a minute or so. You do sort of get caught up in a train of thoughts or a strong energy or emotion. Just reground yourself, feel your body again in the seat, feel your breathing. And you maybe get to notice there are certain patterns of thought. There may be certain thoughts that are helpful, and there may be certain thoughts that are unhelpful. And that's what we're beginning to have we're exploring those thoughts as they come and go. Okay, so let's let go of that scene. You can reconnect with your breath, feel the breath for a couple of cycles, feel your body in the chair again, feel yourself grounded, and open your eyes. They've been closed, and come back to the surroundings here. So again, that was kind of just an exercise in noticing what's going on. And again, I'd love to hear what you thought about that, what you thought about your thinking. And this is where mindfulness meditation can be very helpful. We can begin to see some of those repetitive thought patterns. We begin to see some of the things that we've been sort of conditioned with, things that we automatically react to, and we can begin to change some of those. We begin to look at that self-talk and begin to change from this more positive, from a more negative mindset, which we have. We already have a negativity bias, and we can begin to change the negative thoughts into more positive and begin to realize that we have a little bit more sense of control over our own perception and reactions to that situation in life. Now, the second part of neuroplasticity, all that really means is that the more we practice these things, this way of responding to life, responding to stress, responding to all that stuff, the more we practice, the more we get better at it and it becomes stronger. And it actually creates new neural pathways. It changes the brain's structure and biochemistry. And that's actually been shown in some of the studies. So neuroplasticity actually changes the brain, but you got to practice it. It's just like, making ourselves healthy by going to the gym. This is about brain fitness. So think of it that way. You can really, really begin to change how the brain thinks and the structure of the brain. So one great way to do that is with gratitude. Now, I'm not going to go too much into this, but this is a great way to kind of turn our attention to things that are going well for us and things that we're grateful for. So you can see some of the benefits that I've listed here. And we did put up a whole bunch of stuff on that same live and recorded page back in May. We did the 10 days of gratitude. So there are 10 different practices that you can go back to if you want to dive into this a little bit deeper. There's also a very good video here if you want to check that out on the effects of gratitude. So certainly it's been shown through the studies to be one of the most effective ways to turn that negative bias into a positive mindset. Here are some quick pauses that you can try. So breathing deep and just appreciating the breath and being alive. Scanning the body, noticing what's good about the body. So often we kind of critique the body, what we don't like about it. The older I get, the more I notice, what I can't do as compared to what I could do when I was younger. So we have to remind ourselves what's working, right? So scan the body, what's good about your body, savor the good, stop, sense, appreciate those good things, those pleasant things in your life. Really take a few moments with it and let them sink in. That also has an effect on the brain. You might try creating a gratitude photo album. So in your phone, just have a separate little album for, as you take pictures, putting things that you're grateful for, positive events, people that you're grateful for, put them into the gratitude photo album, and you can go back and revisit that. And those people that you are grateful to, who are they and why, how have they helped you, why are you grateful to them, and tell them, give them that feedback. So these are just some quick gratitude pauses. Another very quick practice you can try is the 3 good things practice. And this is simply at the end of the day, noticing or writing down 3 things that went well. They don't have to be big. They could be any small little thing or whatever. If it was a larger thing that you appreciate, that's great. But just jotting down or maybe texting somebody or sharing them with a loved one. What are those 3 things that went well for you today? And again, same thing, make that a practice. What they found in the study is that when people did this for a week to 2 weeks, it had a lasting effect on their sense of happiness and well-being for up to 6 months. So very, very powerful practice. All right, so We've covered a lot. You can go back and look at the slides when I post them, but I want to remind you about the app again, the M Life app, which you can download by going onto that same where I showed you that Carillon Wellbeing site. They do have a class if you do go into it. It's I believe, a 6-session on-demand class called Strategies to Reduce Stress. So if you want to check that out, if you want to practice or have a way to practice, you might want to do that. And then we do have, again, the website itself, that whole area that I showed you, plus the guided meditations. Some of the guided meditations are targeted specifically for stress, so you might want to check those out. There are other apps that I know some of you have already tried. The Insight Timer and Healthy Minds are both very good and free. 10% Happier, again, is not free, but it's a very good app. I highly recommend it. And then where I post all of my classes are on YouTube. So that link there takes you to that YouTube channel, and there are a whole bunch of different playlists. All of these classes are uploaded there. I have a whole section of nature videos, so you might want to check those out. They're just very brief 1 to 2 or 3 minute videos that show a different nature scene. And then I have some other stress-related classes on there as well. Again, just a reminder about the phone meditations. Those are still going on. Hope you can join me, but these are a great opportunity to take that 10 minutes and just, again, unplug, right? Take that time for yourself to just be. If you don't have those specific times during the day, you can call this number, the 688-6185 number. And again, that's 3 pre-recorded on there. You can try those out. But the idea here is just to take some baby steps. What are 1 or 2 things that you can do to, again, get better at stress? First of all, interrupt the stress cycle like we talked about, using some of those techniques, maybe some of the relaxing techniques that we've done before. But also, how can you change your perception and your relationship to stress? I think that's really key. And that's where we get into looking about our thoughts. So what steps? Maybe write a couple of things down, kind of make that commitment to yourself. Try it over the next couple of weeks. See where your stress level is. Where's your stress level now? Maybe redoing that on that scale of 1 to 10. Did those exercises help? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Don't worry about that. But I think we really want to look at what works for you. It's a lot, I know, but this is a simple plan that kind of puts it down, the SAP-3. So the first S is stop what you're doing and breathe deeply when you realize you're feeling stressed. Pay attention to what's going on in your body. The A is ask yourself what you're feeling and thinking. And then P, do something physical every day. Just get out of the head and into your body. And then the 3 is plan 3 bright spots. What are 3 things that you can look forward to? 3 things, maybe it's simple little things like getting out for that walk, getting into nature, spending time with a friend, doing something related to a hobby, doing something that's fun. But what are 3 bright spots that you can do each and every day? That's the key, keep them going and build them right in. You can schedule them in your calendar if you're really busy. Some people, it's hard to find this time. That's the biggest hurdle I think that many of us have. So finding a way to carve out that time is really, really important. The very last thing that I just kind of put in here at the end is, the world is very stressful these days. And so this is just kind of a quick practice to help us with whether it's election stress or it's the wars that are going on in the world or climate change or some of the things that are just very, very troubling. When we are triggered by some of those things, when we begin to feel that stress response, again, take the pause, take the 3 breaths to pause, breathe in, slow down, breathe in. What do you need in the moment? Okay, ask yourself, what do you need? And then breathe out for others, all those that you're worried about in the world who are going through these awful situations. And then once you do that, that kind of helps us then feel your feelings, acknowledge and label what some of the feelings are. Sometimes they're strong. Just simply acknowledge them and feel them without, kind of pushing them away. And then you can go on to educating yourself, resourcing yourself, taking care of yourself. What do you need? And then coming up with a plan. How do you want to respond to that? And then putting the plan in place. So just wanted to finish with that. And, again, I'll go back to this. I'll leave this up just as I like this little quick plan if you want to put that into place. But that's it, folks. So before we close, do you have any questions, or is there anything, any comments or anything at all? Any questions about the know your numbers aspect, or about doing any of this for yourself? Anything that I can help with?
Hi, Bud. Can you remind us where we are to go in order to show that we've done your classes?
Sure. For the know your numbers.
Yes.
So you go to that same Thrive area. There is a whole section under that for your health.
Correct.
And that will show you the where to go you probably, many of you probably have already been in there to record. You have to do your biometric screening, which gets uploaded to that. You have to do the health assessment. And then there's personal choice activities, and that's what this comes up under. And I think it's under rewards. And so you would go into that, and I think it's called emotional well-being. I haven't been in there for a while, but look for that, and there's a drop down, and then you can pick one of the classes. I think they're there, or you can actually write in the class. And each one of these classes counts for $100. You can do up to 2. So you do get $100 credit for one class.
Emotional well-being. That's what I wanted to remember. Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Any other questions? I'm going to stop the record. And I'm going to thank you so much for being here, and thanks for all of you taking time out of your really busy day. So let me stop the recording.